And so we settle in. You can feel your body beginning to grow heavy in the most pleasant way. In our time together tonight, there is nothing to examine, nothing to understand, only the gentle rhythm of a story. A story about what happens when your day goes very, very wrong in a place a long, long time ago. A place of scorching sun and powerful kings, of intricate laws and even more intricate punishments. Before we drift too far, if you feel a connection to this place, you're welcome to leave a quiet like or subscribe. Think of it not as a task, but as leaving a soft footprint in the sand before you continue your journey inward. And on that note, feel free to leave a comment with your city and the time on your clock. It's a quiet comfort to know who is listening in the deep hours of the night, all of us finding a little stillness together. All right, let the shadows in your room grow long and soft. Maybe you can hear the faint sound of your own breathing. And together, let's allow the story to begin. But unlike you, comfortable and safe in your bed, the person in our story, you are not in a soft place at all. The morning started badly, and it has only gotten worse. The first thing you are aware of is the heat. Not the pleasant warmth of a sunbeam, but a dry, oppressive heat that cooks the air in this small, windowless room and makes the clay walls feel like a kiln. A single shaft of dusty light cuts down from a hole in the ceiling, illuminating a swirling universe of golden dust motes. It's probably beautiful, if you were in any state to appreciate it. You are not. You are sitting on a rough-hewn wooden bench that is already making its splinters known, and your head is pounding with the ghost of last night's cheap wine. Across from you, on a slightly more impressive chair, sits the man who holds your life in his hands. He is a magistrate, a minor official in the grand sprawling bureaucracy of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, but here, in this dusty provincial town, he is the law. He has a magnificent, square-cut black beard, meticulously oiled and curled in the proper fashion. It's the most impressive thing in the room. He looks tired. He looks bored. He looks tired. He has listened to a dozen stories like yours this week. This is a key feature of any large, well-organized empire. The paperwork and the legal proceedings are endless. This magistrate is a cog in a vast machine of justice, designed to keep the king's peace from the shores of Greece to the plains of India. Your accuser, a merchant whose name you are now struggling to recall, is droning on. He gestures at you with a fat, ringed finger. He speaks of disrespect, of a debt unpaid, of words spoken that brought shame to his house. You remember a heated argument, a spilled jug of wine, a boast you probably shouldn't have made. But you don't remember it being a matter for the state. Apparently you were wrong. The magistrate isn't just weighing a simple dispute. In the Persian worldview, he is weighing truth against falsehood. This is a concept they take very, very seriously. To them, the lie, the Dr. Auguste, is not just a personal failing, it's a cosmic evil, an agent of chaos working against the divine order of the universe, the Arter. You, in your wine-fueled foolishness, have apparently sided with cosmic chaos. Not your finest moment. You try to speak, to explain, but your tongue is thick and your faults are a fog. The magistrate raises a hand and you fall silent. He doesn't look at you. He looks at a clay tablet on his desk, tapping it with a single, perfectly manicured fingernail. The silence stretches. You can hear a fly buzzing somewhere near the ceiling. You can hear your own heart, a frantic drum against your ribs. This is where things get a little murky, even for the historians who would later study these times. They argue constantly about the details. Was this court operating under the grand, codified laws sent down from the capital? Or was it, as is more likely, a hybrid system, a mixture of imperial decree and ancient, local customs that the Persians were generally smart enough to leave in place? Is the punishment you're about to receive a product of sophisticated legal philosophy, or is it a village tradition that has been practiced here since before the great King Cyrus was even born? No one can say for sure. The past is a fuzzy, complicated place. The magistrate finally looks at you. His eyes are like dark, polished stones. There is no anger in them, no malice. There is only a weary sort of finality, as if he is closing a ledger. He says your name. And then he says the sentence. He speaks it in a flat, the administrative tone, the same tone he might use to order a new supply of grain. But the words he says make no sense. They are bizarre. He mentions a boat, or rather 2 boats. The merchant. Your accuser smirks. A guard standing by the door shifts his weight, a subtle but definite change in his posture. Something terrible has just happened, and you are the last one in the room to understand it. The words hang in the hot, still air. The boats. You try to wrap your pounding head around the phrase. It sounds like something from a child's fable, not a legal verdict. Perhaps it's a local euphemism for being exiled, sent down the river to another town. Or maybe it's hard labor, rowing a galley until your hands bleed. Your mind, sluggish with fear and dehydration, scrambles for a logical handhold. Any of those would be terrible, but they would be survivable. They are things that happen to people. What the magistrate begins to describe next is not. He seems to notice your blank-faced confusion, and he sighs, a little puff of air that smells faintly of anise. It's the sigh of a man who has to explain a complicated but immutable procedure one more time. It is simple, he says, as if discussing the weather. We will be placed inside a narrow rowing boat. Another boat of the same size will then be placed over you, like a lid. He mimes this with his hands, bringing them together with a soft clap. Your head, your hand, and your feet will remain outside exposed, and then we will feed you. Feed you. A flicker of absurd hope. Is this some kind of bizarre house arrest? We will feed you a mixture of milk and honey, the magistrate continues, his voice devoid of any emotion. A great deal of it. More than you wish to eat. We will do this every day. The honey will also be applied to your face and limbs, to protect you from the sun. Oh well, that sounds almost thoughtful. A grotesque, sticky sunscreen. But the merchant across from you is no longer smirking. His face has gone a bit pale. The accuser seems to think this is a bit much. The milk and honey, the magistrate says, leaning forward slightly, will do what milk and honey do when consumed in such quantities. Your body will protest. Inside the dark, warm space of the boats, the filth will accumulate. And the honey on your skin, combined with the accumulating filth, well, the swamp is full of life. The fly that was buzzing near the ceiling suddenly seems menacing. The dusty air feels thick, crawling. It dawns on you in a wave of cold dread that finally cuts through the wine fog and the heat. This isn't a sentence of death. It's a sentence of being slowly, methodically transformed into a living hive, a breathing buffet. They feast. The Persians were famous for their elaborate punishments. Crucifixion, impalement, being buried alive, these were tools used to make a very public, very terrifying statement. But this felt different. This was personal. It was intricate. It was creative. The guard finally puts a rough hand on your shoulder and hauls you to your feet. As you are frog-marched out of the dim courthouse and into the blinding sunlight, the sentence is announced to the small crowd that has gathered outside. A wave of murmurs ripples through the onlookers. You see faces you know, the woman who sells bread, the old man who sharpens knives, the children you sometimes see playing by the well. They are all staring, not with pity, but with a wide-eyed, morbid curiosity. You are no longer their neighbor. You are a spectacle. A ghost who just doesn't know he's dead yet. And here we must pause for a little academic aside. The very existence of this punishment, known to history as Scaphism or the boats, is a topic of hot debate. Our most detailed account comes from a Greek writer named Plutarch, who was writing centuries after the events he described. And as you may know, the Greeks and the Persians were not exactly best friends. They were epic rivals, locked in a struggle for dominance for generations. So, historians have to ask, is Plutarch giving us a factual account of Persian justice? Or is he engaging in a bit of highly effective propaganda, painting his enemies as monstrously cruel and inventive in their barbarity? It's the ancient world's equivalent of a political attack ad. We have no Persian sources that describe this punishment. So, are you a victim of eventual law, or are you a victim of a very successful smear campaign that has lasted for 2,000 years? As the guards shove you forward, forcing you to walk through the dusty street, that academic debate offers you precisely zero comfort. The reality of it is beginning to solidify. You stumble, and the crowd shrinks back, as if your bad luck is contagious. The logic of the punishment is starting to form in your mind, a piece of horrifying clockwork. The Persians, as good as Zoroastrian, held the elements of earth and fire to be sacred. A body could not be buried, for it would defile the pure earth. It could not be burned, for that would pollute the sacred fire. So, for a truly despised criminal, a different solution was needed. A way to have a person consumed by nature without touching the holy elements. To let you rot on the water, devoured by the lowest of creatures. It wasn't just execution. It was an act of profound, spiritual defilement. A way of erasing you from the world in the most disgusting manner conceivable. And it was all starting because you had a few too many drinks and insulted a rug merchant. The walk through town is a masterclass in humiliation. It's not a long walk, your town isn't that large, but every step feels like a mile. The sun is now high in the sky, a merciless white disk that bleaches the color from the mud brick buildings and beats down on your bare head. The guards are holding your arms, their grips like iron bands. They aren't being particularly rough, but they don't need to be. The shame is doing all the work. You pass the baker's shop. The air, usually thick with the comforting smell of fresh, warm flatbread, now seems to mock you. You see the baker's wife, a woman who has known you since you were a child, quickly avert her eyes and duck back into the shadows of her shop. She doesn't want to be associated with this. No one does. Your sentence is a stain that spreads to endless. A few doors down, a group of children who were chasing a stray dog fall silent as you approach. They stare, their game forgotten, their faces a mixture of fear and fascination. One of them, a small boy with wide, curious eyes, takes a half step forward before his mother snatches him back, whispering something sharp in his ear. You have become the local bogeyman in real time. This is the story they will be told tonight to make them finish their supper and go to bed on time. Every window and doorway seems to hold a face. The faces blur into a single, collective stare. You are the center of attention, but you have never felt more alone. You are a public lesson. This is an essential part of the process, you realize. The punishment isn't just for you, it's for them. It's a stark and visceral reminder of the power of the law, of the consequences of stepping out of line. The king, far away in his magnificent palace in Susa or Persepolis, may be an abstract concept, but the magistrates, the guards, and your slow, shameful walk are very, very real. It's how an empire maintains control over vast territories with a relatively small number of troops, through carefully managed terror and the willing participation of the public in these grim rituals. You trip on a loose stone, your knees hitting the hard-packed earth, a collective intake of breath from the unseen audience. The guards haul you up unceremoniously. Dust clings to the front of your tunic, a new layer of grime to add to the sweat and fear. You catch your own reflection in a puddle of murky water by the side of the road. The face looking back is a stranger, wild-eyed, streaked with dirt, hair matted with sweat. Is that really you? Just yesterday, you were a person. You had a name. Small joys and petty grievances. Now you are just a condemned man, a thing being led to its destruction. As you get closer to the edge of town, the crowd thins. The more respectable citizens have seen enough and returned to their daily business. Only the morbidly curious and a few street urchins follow now, keeping a safe distance. The dry, dusty smell of the town gives way to a damp vegetal scent. The smell of the swamp. It's a place you've actively avoided your whole life. A place of buzzing insects, foul water, and whispered stories of things that lurk beneath the surface. It is your final destination. Here's a small, slightly odd detail about Persian society at the time. Their obsession with gardens. The Persians were master horticulturists. They created paradise on earth. In fact, our word paradise comes from their old Persian term for a walled garden, paradiida. They engineered vast, beautiful, orderly parks with flowing water channels and fragrant flowers. A triumph of human control over the chaos of nature. The swamp you are being led to is the absolute antithesis of that ideal. Read into Thankol. Uncontrolled, chaotic, and teeming with life that is anything but beautiful. To be cast out from the orderly world of the town and into the primordial chaos of the swamp is a powerful symbol. It's being thrown out of paradise. You are being officially designated as a part of the wild, untamed world, no longer fit for the society of men. The guards shove you along a narrow, muddy track. The ground here is soft and squelches under your feet. Reeds as tall as a man line the path, their feathery tops whispering in the slight breeze. The sound of insects is already a low, constant hum. You can feel the moisture in the air, a sticky blanket that clings to your skin. The path ends abruptly at a small, rickety, wooden jetty that extends a few feet into the murky, green-brown water, and tied to the jetty are two small, crude, flat-bottomed boats. They are nothing more than hollowed-out logs, really. Simple, ugly, and waiting for you. They look exactly like the magistrate described, and seeing them real and solid makes the impossible horror of your sentence finally, undeniably true. The boats are even worse up close. They are crude, functional, and utterly devoid of any craftsmanship. They look like they were hacked out of a pair of rotting logs by someone who was in a hurry and didn't care about aesthetics. The wood is dark, waterlogged, a thin layer of green slime coats the sides. They are not built for swift journeys or for carrying precious cargo. They are built for one purpose and one purpose only. They are tools. One of the guards, a big man with a scar that splits his left eyebrow, nudges you forward with the butt of his spear. "Get in," he grunts. You hesitate. Your fate feel rooted to the rickety jetty. To step into that boat is to accept your fate, to take the final, active step into your own living grave. For a wild moment, you consider fighting, or running. But where would you run? Into the swamp. You'd be dead in a day from a dozen other causes, and the two guards are watching you with an air of professional boredom, as if they've dealt with runners before. Resistance would only add a beating to your list of current problems, so you move. You place one foot into the bottom boat. The wood is slimy and unstable under your weight. It rocks precariously, and you have to put your hands out to steady yourself against the sides. The inside is just as rough as the outside. It smells of stagnant water, mud, and something else, a faint, metallic tang you can't quite place. You sit down, then lie back as instructed. It's a horrifically snug fit. The curved hole presses against your back and shoulders. Splayed out. This is not a position of rest. It is a position of utter vulnerability. You lie there staring up at the harsh blue sky. A bird circles high above. For a moment, it's almost peaceful. Just you, the sky, and the gentle lapping of the water against the side of the boat. But then the guards move, their shadows falling over you. They are positioning the second boat. You watch it being lifted, a dark, curved shape that blocks out the sun. It descends slowly, a closing coffin lid. The second boat comes down. There's a hollow, woody thump as it settles into place over the first one. And just like that, the world disappears. You are plunged into an almost total darkness. The fit is claustrophobically perfect. The rim of the top boat presses down just above your knees and around your shoulders. Your head, neck, and arms from the elbow down are sticking out one end. Your feet and ankles are sticking out the other. You can't sit up. You can't turn over. You can barely shift your weight an inch in any direction. The air inside is instantly hot, close, and smells of damp, rotting wood. You are a bug in a shell, a seed in a pod. Your eyes, useless in the dark, are wide open. Your hearing is suddenly magnified. You can hear the guards muttering to each other outside. You can hear the creak of the ropes as they secure the two halves together. Every sound is intimate and terrifying. You try to wiggle your fingers. They move, too. You try to wiggle your toes. They move, too. These small parts of you, still connected to the outside world, are now your only link to reality, is encased in this warm, dark, wooden prison. It's debated by scholars whether the two boats were sealed together. Some accounts imply they were, perhaps with nails or cramps, to prevent any hope of escape. Others suggest they were simply laid one on top of the other, their combined weight being enough to keep a weakened person contained. The lack of a perfect seal would be crucial. It would allow air to circulate, prolonging the process. But it would also allow other things to get in later. Things that crawl. For now, you are alone in the dark. You can feel your own breath, hot and moist against the wood just inches from your face. You can feel your heart hammering against your ribs, the sound booming in the enclosed space. The initial panic is a physical thing, a wild animal threshing inside your chest. You want to scream, to smash your way out, but you are wedged into tightly. All you can do is lie there, breathing in the dark, waiting for the next step in this meticulously planned nightmare, with a chilling certainty what that next step is. You can almost taste it already. The honey. The sound of footsteps on the jetty again. Their shadow falls over your face, offering a brief, blessed moment of relief from the glaring sun. You squint up and see one of the guards looming over you. He's holding a clay jug and a rough-looking wooden bowl. In his other hand, he has a large, flat-bladed knife, but he's not holding it like a weapon. He's holding it like a spatula. He sets the bowl down on the wood of the boat, right next to your head. It's full of a pale, creamy liquid, thick with golden streaks, milk and honey. It looks almost wholesome, a child's breakfast. But the smell is cloying like sweet, and the sight of it fills you with a primal revulsion. This is not food. This is the fuel for your slow dissolution. Open up, the guard says, his voice flat. It's not a request. You press your lips together, a pathetic, futile act of defiance. The guard sighs, the same weary sigh as the magistrate. It seems to be the official sound of the Persian penal system. He picks up the bowl and tilts it. A thick, sticky stream of the mixture pours onto the wood beside your cheek. He dips the flat of the knife into the mess and then, with a shocking, intimate gesture, he smears the cold, sticky concoction across your face. It gets in your eyebrows, in your hair, painting you like a piece of pottery. The honey is thick and fragrant, and its sweetness is nauseating. He coats your cheeks, your forehead, your chin. Then he moves to your exposed arms, slathering the sticky glaze over your skin from your elbows to your fingertips. The feeling is bizarre. It's cold at first, then starts to feel warm and tight as it dries in the sun. It's like being frosted like a cake. This practice of anointing the victim is a fascinating, if gruesome, detail. Why the honey on the outside? The practical reason is obvious, to attract the first wave of insects. But there might be a symbolic layer to it as well. Honey was a precious commodity. It was a symbol of sweetness, of paradise, of divine favor. To use it in this way is a perversion, a ritualistic mockery. You are being given the symbols of a blessed afterlife, but for the purpose of creating a living hell. It's a very particular kind of psychological cruelty, turning something beautiful into an instrument of torment. Now for the main course. The guard puts down the knife and picks up the bowl again. Open, he repeats, his voice a little harder this time. You keep your mouth shut. He jams a thumb and forefinger into your cheeks and pinches, hard. Your jaw involuntarily drops open, and before you can react he tilts the bowl. A thick, lukewarm torrent of milk and honey floods your mouth. You gag, choking, trying to spit it out, but he is relentless. He pours until your mouth is overflowing, the sweet, cloying liquid running down your chin and onto your neck, mingling with the honey he's already smeared there. You have no choice but to swallow, and swallow, and swallow. Each gulp is a surrender. 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 Each gulp, his stomach, already churning with fear, lurches in protest. Historians often question the logistics of this part. Force feeding is difficult. A person can fight back, refuse to swallow. Some ancient sources mention the use of a funnel, or even more brutal methods to get the food down. The accounts we have from Plutarch, however, suggest a simpler, more insidious method, that the victim would be forced to eat by pricking their eyes with a small blade if they refused. Sharp pain to a sensitive organ would be enough to compel cooperation with the slow, drawn-out agony. Thankfully for you, your guard seems content with the pinch and pour method, for now. He empties the entire bowl down your throat. When he's done, he lets go of your face. You lie there, gasping, your throat and stomach burning with the unnatural sweetness. You feel bloated, sick. The honey on your face is already attracting attention, A single, bold fly lands on your cheek. You can feel its tiny, tickling legs walking near your eye. You try to shake your head, but the movement is too constrained. The fly walks on, unbothered. It is the first arrival at the banquet. The guard picks up his things. He gives you one last, disinterested look. His work here is done for the day. He turns and walks away, his footsteps receding down the jetty. Then there is only the sound of the water, the whisper of the reeds, and the low, rising hum of insects. The fly on your face is joined by another, and another. They are congregating on the sticky glaze of your skin, exploring this new, sweet landscape. You are no longer just a person. You are a landmark, a territory, and the first colonists have just arrived. The second boat settles with a dull final thud. The world you knew, a world of sun and sky in the faces of your captors, vanishes. It is replaced by an absolute and profound darkness. Not the gentle dark of a bedroom at night, but a thick, oppressive blackness that feels like a physical weight. Your universe has shrunk to the dimensions of a coffin. The air is instantly still, hot, and heavy with the scent of damp wood, your own fearful sweat, and the cloying sweetness of the honey that coats your face. You are sealed in. The fit is horribly, intimately snug. The rough-hewn wood of the top boat is just inches from your nose. If you inhale too deeply, you can feel the tiny, tickling touch of a splinter. The sides press in on your shoulders and hips, immobilizing you completely. You can't shift. You are fixed in this one position, a human filling in a wooden sandwich. Your arms, from the elbows down, and your legs, from the knees down, are outside. They feel strangely disconnected, like they belong to someone else. They are your limbs of sacrifice, the parts of you offered up to the world, while the core of you is left to cook in this dark, suffocating box. Panic, cold and sharp, lances through you. Your heart hammers against your ribs, the sound amplified in the enclosed space, until it feels like a drum beating right next to your ear. Your breath comes in ragged, shallow gasps. Claustrophobia is no longer an abstract idea, it is a physical assault. You instinctively try to push upwards, to sit up, but your muscles strain against the unyielding wood. The effort is useless. It only serves to scrape your back against the rough interior of the bottom boat, a sharp, grinding pain that adds to your misery. You are trapped, utterly and completely. This method of containment is a subject of some practical debate among those who study ancient punishments. Was it really just boats? The Greek descriptions are simple, perhaps deceptively so. Some historians propose it might have been more of a purpose-built wooden box, shaped like a human body, made into halves. This would be more secure and reusable, which seems practical for an empire that, let's be honest, probably had a steady stream of people to execute. The image of two simple boats, however, is what has captured the historical imagination. It's more rustic, more elegantly cruel in its simplicity. It suggests the punishment could be improvised anywhere there was a log and a sharp tool. Whether you are in a custom-built torture device or a pair of repurposed fishing boats makes little difference to your current predicament, but it's one of those details that scholars love to argue about. You force yourself to stop struggling. Wasting energy is a luxury you cannot afford. You focus on your breathing, trying to slow the frantic pace. Inhale. Exhale. The air is already starting to feel stale. You stop. Each breath is a reminder of your confinement. Your senses, deprived of sight, begin to recalibrate. Your hearing sharpens. You can hear the gentle swashing of the salt water against the outside of your wooden shell. You can hear the rustle of the reeds in the wind, a dry, whispering sound, and you can hear the buzzing. The buzzing is no longer just a few curious flies on your face. It's a chorus, a low, persistent, multi-toned hum that is growing in volume. They are on your honey-slathered hands, your face, your feet. You can feel them. The delicate, tickling sensation of their feet is maddening. One crawls across your eyelid, and you squeeze your eyes shut in a violent, involuntary spasm. Another explores the inside of your ear. You try to twitch, to shake them off, but your head is wedged tightly. You can do nothing but feel them, these tiny explorers charting the new territory of your body. Here's a rather unpleasant little piece of entomologic knowledge for you. The first insects to arrive are likely the non-biting types, houseflies, blowflies. They are attracted to the sugar in the honey and the moisture of your sweat. They are an annoyance, a creeping, crawling horror, but they are not, in themselves, actively painful. They are the scouts, the pioneers. They are also, unfortunately, laying the groundwork for what is to come. Their presence, their waste, and the scent of the honey are sending out a powerful, irresistible signal into the swamp, an invitation, a dinner bell. More aggressive and specialized guests are on their way. You lie in the dark, every nerve ending on your exposed skin screaming with the sensation of crawling insects. You try to retreat into your own mind, to think of something else. Your home, the taste of clean water, the face of a loved one, the suffocating heat inside the boat, the stench of honey, the relentless, tickling torment on your skin. It all conspires to keep you anchored in this horrific present, and you can feel the heat radiating through the wood, turning your small, dark world into a slow baking oven. This is the beginning, and the most terrifying part is the realization that this, right now, this moment of panic and disgust, is the best it is going to be. From here, it only gets worse. There's a sudden, jarring lurch. The boat scrapes against the wooden jetty, a sound of grating that travels right through your skull. Then another, smoother motion. You are moving. You are being pushed away from the shore. The gentle, rhythmic lapping of the water against the hull changes to a softer, more continuous shoosing sound as you glide through the water. You have been cast adrift. The feeling is one of profound and terrifying isolation. Before, as horrible as it was, you were still connected to the land. You could hear the guards. You were, technically, still in the world of men. Now the connection is severed. The sounds of the shore, the crunch of footsteps, the muttering of the guards fade with surprising speed. They are replaced by the subtle, alien sounds of the swamp, the gurgle of water moving through thick reeds, the plop of something, a frog or a fish, breaking the surface nearby, the incessant high-pitched whine of mosquitoes joining the deeper hum of the flies. You are a self-contained island of misery, floating on a sea of stagnant water. The boat turns slowly, drifting at the mercy of the faintest current or breeze. Sometimes your head is pointed towards the open water, sometimes towards a dense thicket of reeds. You have no control. You are cargo. The movement is not smooth. The boat bumps and nudges against unseen things beneath the surface, a submerged log, a bank of mud. Each bump is a reminder of the unseen world just inches below you. What lives in this murky, green-brown water? You've heard the stories. Water snakes with venom that can kill a man in an hour. Snapping turtles with jaws that can break bone. Things without names that slide through the mud in the deep, dark places. Your wooden shell, which moments ago felt like a prison, now feels like a flimsy, inadequate shield against the horrors below. This act of setting the victim adrift is a key component of the punishment's grim genius. In many ancient cultures, a proper burial was essential for the soul's journey into the afterlife. To be left unburied was a terrible fate, but this is worse. You are not just unburied, you are given a mock burial at sea, a parody of a funeral barge. This is where historians debate the deeper ritualistic meaning. Was this a symbolic return to primordial chaos? By placing you on the water, were your executioners delivering you to a more ancient, elemental power, letting the gods of the swamp and the vermin pass their own judgment? Or was it purely practical? A swamp is a convenient, self-cleaning disposal system. It's remote. The smell won't bother the town, and no one has to get their hands dirty with the final act. The swamp does all the work. It's outsourcing, ancient style. The heat inside your wooden cocoon is intensifying. The sun is beating down on the dark wood of the top boat, turning it into a radiator. The air is thick, humid, and almost unbreathable. Sweat pours from you, soaking the rough wood beneath you, adding to the damp, musty smell. The darkness is no longer just an absence of light, it's a tangible, suffocating blanket. You try to distract yourself by focusing on your exposed limbs. You can feel the sun on your hands and feet. It's no longer a gentle warmth, It's a searing, painful heat. Your skin is already starting to feel tight and burned, despite the layer of honey. Or perhaps, because of it. Here's a fun, quirky fact that is decidedly not fun for you right now. Honey, while having some antibacterial properties, can also act as a lens, focusing the sun's rays. It's possible that the protective layer of honey is actually shallow frying your skin. It's the kind of cruel, ironic detail that seems perfectly in keeping with the rest of this ordeal. A new sensation begins. A sharp, stinging pain on the back of your hand. Not a tickle. A sting. Then another on your ankle. Wasps or hornets. Drawn by the honey, they are more aggressive than the flies. They don't just want to taste, they want to defend their newfound treasure trove. Each sting is a tiny, white-hot explosion of pain. You flinch, a useless, convulsive jerk inside your wooden prison. The movement achieves nothing except to scrape your skin against the splinters again. You can't swat them, you can't flee. All you can do is lie there and take it. The boat drifts into a patch of lily pads. You can hear them, a soft, leathery scraping against the hull. The world outside is vibrant and full of life. It's just that all of it, every single living thing, seems to want to eat you. The gentle nudge into the swamp wasn't a journey to a quiet end. It was a delivery. You have been served, and the diners are beginning to arrive in earnest. The sun is a relentless, hateful force. It feels personal. You lie with your face turned upwards, and even with your eyes squeezed shut, you can see a painful, reddish-orange glow through your eyelids. There is no shade, no escape. The honey on your face, once cold, has become a hot, sticky mask. It drips, occasionally, into the corner of your eye, the sting of its sweetness making you flinch. The heat is not just on you, but in you. A fever is beginning to brew. A slow burn that starts in your gut and spreads through your limbs. And then there is the swarm. It's no longer just a few dozen curious flies and the occasional aggressive wasp. It is a cloud, a living, breathing, buzzing entity that has settled upon you. Your exposed hands, feet, and face are completely covered. The sensation of 1,000 tiny, moving feet has blended into a single, horrible, vibrating blanket. It's a feeling that bypasses the skin and goes straight to the nervous system, a constant, low-grade, maddening friction. You've reached a point where a new fly landing is no longer a distinct event, just more fuel for the fire. You can hear them. God, you can hear them. The air around your head is thick with the sound. It's a symphony of insects. The deep, resonant buzz of fat blowflies, the higher-pitched whine of mosquitoes, the angry, percussive thrum of wasps. They are fighting with each other for prime position on your honey-slathered skin, a miniature, chaotic war being waged on the battlefield of your body. Occasionally, a wasp will succeed in driving off a few flies, celebrating its victory by gifting you with another sharp, fiery sting. This is a good moment to appreciate the sheer biodiversity of a swamp. We tend to think of insects in simple terms: flies, mosquitoes, bees. But an ecosystem like this is home to thousands of species, each with its own niche. You're currently hosting a speed dating event for a startling variety of them. There are sweat bees, tiny metallic green things drawn to the salt in your perspiration. There are deer flies and horse flies, whose females require a blood meal to lay their eggs, and you are a uniquely stationary and unresisting source. Their bites are not stings, they are slices. They have mouthparts like tiny, serrated knives, and they use them to slash open the skin and lap up the pooling blood. Each bite is a hop, shock, shock, shock. And here's a niche biological detail that is profoundly unhelpful to you: the phenomenon of wound clumping. Once a wound is created, say by a horsefly bite, it releases chemicals, pheromones of distress and the scent of fresh blood. These signals act as a potent attractant to other insects of the same and different species. So each new bite doesn't just add one more point of pain, it sends out a chemical shout to the entire swamp, announcing that the buffet is now open and serving a new course. The swarm on your face is not just random, it's actively congregating around your eyes, your nostrils, your mouth. Anywhere moisture and soft tissue are present, they are trying to get in. The sun continues its slow, brutal arc across the sky. Time has lost all meaning. Is it mid-morning? Noon? Afternoon? The only clock you have is the intensity of the heat and the growing ferocity of the swarm. You try to retreat into your mind, but it's a treacherous landscape. Your thoughts are becoming slow and thick like honey. You try to remember the sequence of events that lead you here, the argument with the merchant, the taste of the wine, the magistrate's bored face. It all feels like a story that happened to someone else a long time ago. The world inside the boat is an oven. The heat, the darkness, the lack of air, it's creating a perfect incubator. For what? You're not yet sure, but you can feel a pressure building inside you. A deep, intestinal cramping that is entirely separate from the external torment. The milk and honey, the meal they gave you, is beginning its journey. It's a ticking clock counting down to a new and even more disgusting phase of this ordeal. Historians who analyze these accounts often point to the sun and the swarm as the first act of the punishment. It's the psychological assault, the phase designed to break your spirit, to overwhelm your senses, and to reduce you from a human being to a screaming, helpless piece of meat. The sheer relentlessness of it is the key. There is no pause, no moment of relief. You can't turn your face away from the sun. You can't wave your hand to brush away the flies. This complete and total helplessness is a form of torture all its own. The Greeks, when they wrote about this, may have exaggerated the details for propaganda, but the core concept, the synergy of heat, helplessness, and insects, is a psychologically sound recipe for creating absolute misery. And you are the proof of concept. The sun is starting to dip, you think. The light against your eyelids is turning from white hot to a warmer, more golden color. But the swarm doesn't care about the sunset. The party is just getting started. The cramps start as a low, dull ache deep in your belly. At first you can almost ignore them. They are just another unpleasant signal in a symphony of misery. The searing heat of your sunburned skin, the fire of a dozen wasp stings, the maddening tickle of 1,000 flies, which one more little pain. But this pain is different. It's not on the surface, it's coming from within. It's a message from your own body, a frantic internal memo stating that something is catastrophically wrong. The magistrate's words echo in your feverish mind. The milk and honey will do what milk and honey do. You had no idea what that really meant. Now, you're getting a very practical, very personal lesson in gastrointestinal distress. The massive, unnatural dose of lactose from the milk and the concentrated fructose from the honey are waging a war on your digestive system. Your body has no idea how to process this sugary, fatty onslaught. The ache intensifies, twisting into a sharp, insistent knot. It feels like a fist is clenching inside your gut. You groan a low, animal sound that is swallowed by the dark, close confines of the boat. The pain builds in waves. It crests, holding you in its grip for a long, agonizing moment, and then it recedes, leaving you trembling and sweating in the dark. But the respite is short. The next wave is already building, a little stronger, a little more vicious than the last. This is the second, insidious stage of the punishment. The external assault of the sun and the swarm was just the beginning. Now, the attack comes from the inside out. Your own body is being turned against you, transformed into an instrument of your own torture. It's a truly diabolical piece of design. There is no external tormentor to blame, no God to hate. There is only the inexorable, biological process unfolding within you. And here's a slightly disgusting but relevant piece of medical trivia for you. This condition has a name, osmotic diarrhea, when you flood your intestines with a substance they can't absorb. Like a massive amount of sugar, your body tries to dilute it. It does this by pulling water from your tissues and dumping it into your bowels. This leads to severe cramping, bloating, and eventually a gross meal. The force feeding wasn't just about providing a gross meal. It was a deliberate act of physiological sabotage. It was designed to produce exactly this result. The inevitable happens. With a final, gut-wrenching spasm, your body gives up the fight. The release is sudden, violent, and utterly humiliating. In the hot, dark, enclosed space of the boat, the result is immediate and horrific. A new smell, sharp and foul, instantly fills the small chamber, overpowering the sense of sweat and damp wood. It's a smell of sickness, of decay, The warmth is no longer just from the sun, it's from the filth now pooling beneath you in the concave hull of the boat. You are lying in your own waste. The realization hits you with a fresh wave of despair, a despair so profound it almost eclipses the physical pain. This is the humiliation the magistrate spoke of. This is the point of it all, to strip away every last shred of dignity, to reduce you to the level of an animal, wallowing in its own filth. And the worst part, you know this is just the beginning. There will be more. The room service is scheduled to arrive again tomorrow. Scholars debating the accounts of Scaphism often focus on the mechanics of the insects, but the internal aspect, the diarrhea, is just as crucial. It's the engine of the entire process. The honey on your skin attracts the first wave of insects, but the accumulating filth inside the boat, warm and moist, creates an ideal breeding ground, a perfect nursery. It sends out a new and far more potent chemical signal into the swamp. The scent of filth and decay attracts a whole different and far more horrifying class of organism. You are no longer just a food source. You have become a habitat, a living ecosystem of death. The cramps subside for a moment, leaving you weak and shaking. You lie in the dark, breathing in the foul air, feeling the warm, disgusting sludge beginning to seep into the rough wood beneath you. The buzzing of the insects outside seems to have changed its tone, taken on a new, more excited pitch. They know, they can smell it. The dinner bell has rung for the second course, the true purpose of the boats, the honey, and the milk has been fulfilled. You have been transformed into the perfect bait. You can only lie there and wait for whatever that bait is intended to catch. The sun finally relinquishes its hold on the sky. You don't see it happen, you feel it. The searing heat on your exposed skin lessens to a dull, throbbing burn. The oppressive temperature inside your wooden shell drops by a few degrees, from a kiln to a mere oven. The reddish glow behind your eyelids fades to a deep, bruised purple, and then to black. Night has come, but it brings no comfort. The swamp does not sleep. It awakens. The daytime symphony of buzzing flies and angry wasps begins to fade, replaced by an entirely new orchestra. The first sound you notice is the chorus of frogs. It's not the gentle, charming croaking you might hear by a country pond. This is a deafening guttural cacophony. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all calling at once. Deep, resonant bellows from the big bullfrogs, and high-pitched, frantic chirps from their smaller cousins. So loud and incessant it feels like it's vibrating inside your skull. Then other sounds begin to emerge from the din. The high, piercing trill of crickets and katydids from the reeds. The low, ominous hoot of an owl from a distant tree. And closer, much closer, the sound of movement in the water. A soft splash here. A slow, heavy slithering sound there. Your imagination, already feverish and untethered, populates the darkness around you with monstrous shapes. Every rustle in the reeds is a predator. Every ripple in the water is something ancient and hungry approaching your boat. The mosquitoes, which were merely an annoyance during the day, have become a ravenous plague. The high-pitched whine is a constant presence, right next to your ears. They are a finer, more insidious torment than the flies. They land with a touch so light you can barely feel it, but they leave behind a sharp, itchy fire. Your skin, already a landscape of sunburn and wasp stings, becomes a canvas for 1,000 new points of irritation. This is the psychological warfare of the night. During the day, the enemy was visible, tangible. The sun, the flies. Now, the enemy is unseen. It is the sound in the dark, the imagined threat, the creature you can hear but cannot see. It's a perfect environment for paranoia to fester. And here we touch upon a small, strange bit of ancient belief. In many cultures, including those of the ancient Near East, the night was not just an absence of light. It was a different realm, a time when the veil between the world of the living and the world of spirits and demons grew thin. The creatures of the night weren't just animals. They were often seen as malevolent entities. The hoot of an owl could be an omen of death. The unseen thing splashing in the water could be a water demon, a diver. While the Persian state religion of Zoroastrians had a sophisticated theology of good versus evil, these older, more primal folk beliefs still held powerful sway, especially in rural areas. So are you being tormented by frogs and mosquitoes, or are you being assaulted by the very forces of darkness? In your delirious state, the line between the two becomes terrifyingly blurry. A new sensation. Something is touching your fingers, which are dangling just above the water's surface. It's not the light tickle of an insect. It's a wet, slimy, probing touch. You snatch your hand back with a choked gasp, a reflexive jerk that sends a jolt of pain through your body. What was it? A fish. A frog. A fish. A frog. A leech. A frog. A fish. A frog. A leech. You don't know, and that is the worst part. You pull your arms up as high as you can, resting your hands on the sticky wood of the boat next to your head. The air grows cooler, but the relief is deceptive. The drop in temperature makes the fever raging inside you feel even more intense. You begin to shiver, your teeth chattering in the darkness, even as your skin feels like it's on fire. The cramps in your gut have subsided into a dull, constant ache. You are acutely aware of the foul, wet warmth beneath you. The smell has ripened in the cool night air, becoming a thick, gagging stench that you are forced to breathe with every shallow gasp. Historians and archaeologists are still debating the exact locations of these ancient swamps and marshes. The landscape of modern-day Iran-on-Iraq has changed dramatically over 2,500 years. Rivers have shifted course. Marshes have dried up. The place where you are floating might now be a dry, dusty plain or the middle of a bustling city. The past is buried, quite literally, under the present. You are a ghost, floating on a ghost of a river, a forgotten nightmare or landscape that no longer exists. You drift in the dark, a prisoner of sound and sensation. The croaking of the frogs, the whine of the mosquitoes, the slimy touch from the water, the fever in your blood, the filth you are lying in. It all blends into a single, overwhelming experience of misery. Sleep is impossible. Rest is impossible. Rest is impossible. All you can do is lie there listening to the things that croak and slither in the dark and wait for the sun to return. And you dread its return almost as much as you dread the darkness, because you know the sun will bring the flies back. And even worse, you know it will bring the guards back with another bowl of milk and honey. The first hint of dawn is not a light, but a change in the quality of the darkness. A subtle shift from an absolute, ink-black void to a deep, washed-out grey. The deafening chorus of frogs begins to subside, their manic energy spent. The air feels heavy, damp, and cold. A thin, ghostly mist rises from the surface of the swamp, clinging to the reeds and shrouding your small boat in a clammy embrace. Your body is a wreck, every joint aches. Your skin is a tight, painful mask of dried honey, sunburn, and countless insect bites. The fever that raged during the night has left you feeling weak, dehydrated, and strangely hollow. You are shivering, a deep, bone-rattling cold that has nothing to do with the morning air. Then you hear it, a sound that is not part of the swamp's natural rhythm. The rhythmic dip and splash of oars in the water. They are coming back. A part of you, a small, desperate, irrational part, flares with hope. Have they come to let you go? Was one night enough? Did they make their point? But the logical part of your brain, the part that is still functioning, knows better. They aren't here for a rescue. The rowboat emerges from the mist, a dark shape moving with practiced efficiency. It's the same two guards as yesterday. Their faces are impassive, bored. This is a job. Routine. The world's worst room service. One of them rows while the other sits in the bow, holding the now familiar clay jug and bowl. They pull up alongside your vessel, the bump of their boat against yours sending a sickening, sloshing wave of the filth beneath you up against your back. The guard with the food looks at you. His nose wrinkles in disgust. The stench that has been your constant companion for hours has now announced itself to the outside world. He mutters something to his companion, a complaint about the smell of the job. You are no longer a person to them. You are an unpleasant task to be completed as quickly as possible. He doesn't bother with the formality of smearing more honey on your face. Yesterday's layer is still thick and crawling with a few sluggish, morning-after flies. He moves straight to the main event. Open, he grunts, holding the bowl. This time, You don't have the strength. Your jaw opens slackly. The thick, sweet mixture is poured into your mouth. It tastes even more vile than it did yesterday. Your body, already ravaged, screams in protest. You gag, but you swallow. You know resistance is futile and will only prolong the process. You drink down the poison, feeling it land in your ravaged stomach like a stone. This daily feeding is the most debated and gruesome aspect of the entire punishment. Brutus's account claims this could go on for days, even weeks. He mentions one case, that of a soldier named Mithridates who was sentenced for accidentally killing the king's brother, that supposedly lasted for 17 days. Is this possible? Modern medical experts are highly skeptical. Without clean water, severe dehydration would likely cause fatal kidney failure within 3 to 4 days, regardless of the milk and honey. So, what are we to make of these accounts? There are a few theories. Perhaps the milk and honey mixture provided just enough fluid to stave off the most immediate effects of dehydration, prolonging the agony. Or maybe the guards also provided water, a detail the Greek historians conveniently left out to make the story more horrific. Or, and this is the most likely explanation, the 17-day figure is a wild exaggeration, a piece of journalistic flair from Plutarch to emphasize the sheer barbarity of the punishment. Is that the ordeal probably lasted for a few days at most. But for you lying in this boat, the difference between 4 days and 17 days is a meaningless academic distinction. All that matters is that it is happening again. The guards are done. They don't linger. The rower pushes off from your boat and they begin to pull away, their oars leaving swirling eddies in the murky water. They disappear back into the mist as quickly as they came, leaving you alone once more with the sun, the swarm, and the fresh dose of poison working its way through your system. You lie there, the sweet, sticky taste filling your mouth. The sun is beginning to burn through the mist. The daytime flies are waking up, their buzzing starting as a low hum and quickly building in intensity. They descend upon you with renewed vigor, drawn by the fresh serving. And deep inside you, the cramps are beginning again. A low, familiar tightening. Yesterday was Act 1. Today is the encore. The world is beginning to melt at the edges. The relentless cycle of pain, disgust, and fear is doing strange things to your mind. Reality is losing its solid grip. You are drifting, not just on the swamp, but in undoubt of consciousness, in undoubt of consciousness, in undoubt of sanity. The line between the waking world and the fevered dream is becoming hopelessly blurred. Moments of lucidity are brief and terrifying. You'll become suddenly, horribly aware of your situation, the suffocating heat, the stench, the feeling of insects crawling on your skin and exploring the open sores that have begun to form. In these moments, despair is a physical weight, so heavy it feels like it might stop your heart. But then, mercifully, the edges soften again. The world dissolves into a swirling soup of sound, color, and memory. Your mind, in a desperate act of self-preservation, begins to wander. It flees the unbearable present and takes refuge in the past. You see your childhood home, the pattern of the woven rug on the floor, the way the light fell through the doorway in the late afternoon. You can almost smell your mother's cooking, a phantom scent of spices and baking bread that is so real it makes you weep. You feel the rough bark of a tree you used to climb, the cool shock of jumping into the river on a hot day. These memories are not just thoughts, they are full sensory hallucinations. For a few precious moments, you are not in the boat. You are there. You are safe. You are whole. But the present always reasserts itself. A sharp sting from a hornet, a particularly violent gut cramp, and the beautiful mirage shatters, leaving you back in the hot, stinking darkness. The whiplash between the remembered paradise and the real hell is a special kind of torture. This state of delirium is a predictable medical outcome. The combination of fever from infection, severe dehydration, and the psychological trauma you're enduring is a perfect recipe for altered mental status. Your brain is being starved of clean water and electrolytes, and it's being poisoned by the toxins building up from infection and organ failure. It's starting to malfunction, like a delicate machine being fed and instead of oil. And here we find a strange and debated intersection of history and neurology. Some ancient accounts of suffering, martyrdom, or extreme asceticism describe visions and ecstatic states. The Desert Fathers, Christian monks who practiced extreme self-denial in the Egyptian wilderness, reported seeing both terrifying demons and beautiful angels. Historians and neurologists now speculate that many of these supernatural experiences may have been, in fact, products of the brain under extreme duress, the result of dehydration, starvation, and sensory deprivation. Are the vivid memories flooding your mind a sign of your soul preparing for the afterlife, as some ancient philosophies might suggest, or are they simply the misfiring synapses of a dying brain? The question hangs in the air, another unanswerable riddle. The hallucinations begin to change. They are no longer just pleasant memories. The fever twists them, corrupts them. The face of your mother melts into the sneering face of the merchant who accused you. The cool river water you remembered swimming in now feels thick and foul, like the swamp water around you. Your mind is no longer a refuge, it's another stage for your torment. You start having conversations with people who aren't there. You argue with the magistrate, finally finding all the clever, cutting words you couldn't summon in the courthouse. You plead with the guards, begging them to let you go, your voice a dry, rasping whisper in the dark. You talk to the insects, reasoning with them, asking them to please stop. You are the sole actor in a frantic, one-man play, performing to an audience of flies and frog. This is a little-known aspect of extreme suffering, the loss of self. As your body breaks down and your mind detaches, the clear boundary between you and the world begins to dissolve. The pain you feel is no longer your pain, it's just a free-floating agony. The body you inhabit is no longer your body. It's a decaying object you are unfortunately attached to. Philosophers and mystics sometimes seek this state of ego dissolution. You achieved it in a couple of days, through a far less pleasant method. The sun beats down, the flies buzz, the cramps come and go. But more and more, you are not really there for it. You are lost in the labyrinth of your own mind, a maze with no exit. You are a ghost, haunting the shell of your own body, your consciousness flickering like a guttering candle flame. The world outside the boat, the world of cause and effect, of time and consequence, is becoming a distant rumor. And in a strange way, this descent into madness is a kind of mercy. To be fully sane in this situation would be utterly unbearable. The character of the swarm is changing. The initial colonists, the flies and wasps drawn to the simple sweetness of honey, were a torment, but they were, in a way, surface-level feeders. The guests who are now arriving are of a different, more serious caliber. They are specialists. They have been drawn not by the sweet scent of honey, but by the richer, more complex bouquet of decay. Your body has begun to break down in earnest. The sunburned skin on your hands and face has blistered and split open, creating weeping sores. The horsefly bites have become small, infected ulcers. And inside the book, the warm, dark, filth-ridden environment has become a five-star nursery for bacteria. You are, to put it bluntly, beginning to rot. And this scent, the scent of decomposition, is a clarion call to a whole new category of insect. You feel a new kind of movement on your skin. Not the light tickle of a fly, but something heavier, more deliberate. You manage to crack, open a swollen eyelid, and through the blurry haze you see them. Beetles, dark, shiny shelled carrion beetles, crawling slowly but purposefully over your hand. They are uninterested in the honey. They are looking for entry points, for soft decaying tissue. And then comes a new and horrifying pain. It's not a sting or a bite. It's a burrowing sensation. A feeling of something small and sharp, working its way into the flesh of an open sore on your arm. You cry out, a dry, ragged sound, and thrash uselessly in your confinement. The burrowing continues, a tiny rhythmic engine of pain. This is the work of the blowfly's offspring. The eggs they laid in your wounds yesterday, and the day before have hatched. This is a point where we must acknowledge a weird, and for you profoundly ironic, piece of medical history: maggot therapy. For centuries, military surgeons on battlefields noticed a strange phenomenon. Soldiers whose wounds became infested with maggots often had a better survival rate. It turns out that certain species of maggots are highly effective medical tools. They selectively consume only dead, necrotic tissue, leaving healthy tissue alone, and the secretions have powerful antibacterial properties, cleaning out infections like MRSA better than many modern antibiotics. It's a strange and stomach-churning miracle of nature, but here is the cruel twist. The flies in a swamp are not the carefully sterilized, medical-grade maggots used in a modern hospital. You are being colonized by a wild and indiscriminate variety. And while they may be cleaning out some of the dead tissue, they are also tunneling, creating new pathways for infection, and their presence is an unspeakable violation. Any potential medical benefit is a moot point. It's like having a surgeon operate on you with a rusty, unsterilized saw while you are awake and unable to move. The ecosystem you're hosting is becoming more complex. Ants have found you. A long, thin, disciplined line of them is marching up the side of the boat and onto your arm, following a chemical trail to a weeping blister. They work with a terrifying, unified purpose, their tiny mandibles pinching and tearing. Each one is a minuscule point of pain, but there are hundreds of them, a coordinated army of agony. The academic question that arises here is one of intent versus outcome. Did the designers of this punishment, the ancient Persian lawgivers, have a sophisticated, entomologic understanding of this succession of insects? Did they know that the honey would attract the flies, and the filth would attract the beetles and maggots? Or was it a case of brutal, but simple cause and effect? Let's put a guy covered in food in a swamp and see what happens. Most historians lean towards the latter. They were likely not insect experts. They were just experts in cruelty. They knew that nature, in its most brutal form, would do the job for them. They provided the canvas and the raw materials. The swamp and its inhabitants provided the artistry. You lie there, a passive host to this thriving, horrifying colony. The distinction between your body and the swarm has vanished. You are no longer a man being eaten by insects. You are the ecosystem itself. Your flesh is the soil, your blood the river, your warmth the sun. The burrowing, the crawling, the biting, it all merges into one constant, grinding reality. The pain is no longer a series of sharp events, but a dull, pervasive state of being, like the hum of the swarm itself. You are less a victim and more a venue. The most gruesome party in the entire swamp is happening on, and inside, your body, and the guest list is still growing. There is a new dimension to your suffering, one that is perhaps more intimate and insidious than the pain itself, the smell. At first, it was the cloying sweetness of honey, then the foul odor of your own sickness. Now these have combined and ripened into something new, something complex and utterly vile. It is the smell of active, aggressive decay. It is the smell of death, but a living death, and the most horrific part is that it is coming from you. Your sense of smell, which you can't turn off, bombards you with this information every second of every breath. The air inside your wooden shell is thick with it, a hot, gagging miasma that feels like you're inhaling poison. Even the air outside, around your head, is saturated. You are encased in a bubble of your own putrescence. This constant, overpowering stench has a profound psychological effect. Scent is deeply linked to memory and identity. The smell of a home, a favorite food, a loved one. These things define our sense of place and self. Your personal scent, the unique smell of your own skin and sweat, is a fundamental part of your identity. Now, that has been stolen from you. You have been rendered unrecognizable to yourself. You try to recall what you used to smell like, clean, healthy, alive, and the memory is a distant ghost. This new smell is your reality. You are the source of the horror. It's a strange and little discussed act of extreme physical degradation. We read about pain and injury in historical accounts, but the sensory experience of the stench of one's own body falling apart is rarely described. It's too visceral, too private, too shameful. Yet, for anyone who has experienced severe illness or injury, it is an undeniable reality. It is a constant, suffocating reminder of your own mortality and decay. And you are not the only one who has noticed. The smell is the great broadcast signal to the swamp. It's why the more specialized insects arrived. The carrion beetles, the flesh flies, Their entire existence is oriented around detecting the specific scent from miles away. You are a lighthouse of olfactory information, guiding them in. Every breath you take is an affirmation of your own undoing. Herein lies a peculiar, and rather grim, point of philosophical debate that some scholars touch upon. Is a person defined by their consciousness or by their physical body? The Persian worldview, with its emphasis on physical purity and avoiding the defilement of the elements, would suggest the body is paramount. To have your body corrupted in this way was to have your very essence corrupted. You are not just dying, you are being unmade, dissolved, turned into filth. It's a metaphysical destruction as much as a physical one. This punishment was designed to attack not just your life, but your very identity, your place in the cosmic order. You try to find a single pocket of clean air to turn your head just so, to catch a faint breeze that hasn't passed over your own rotting flesh first. But it's impossible. The source is you. There is no escape. The smell clings to the inside of your nostrils, coats your tongue. You can taste it. It is the flavor of your own ruin. The delirium offers a strange, distorted escape. In your fever dreams, you are a potter, and you are trying to shape a vessel from clay that is foul-smelling and refuses to hold its shape, crumbling and rotting in your hands. You are a chef, forced to cook a meal from spoiled ingredients, the stench making you retch. Your subconscious is trying to process the horror, translating the sensory input into bizarre, allegorical nightmares. The heat of the day bakes the smell, intensifying it, making it sharper. The cool of the night makes it heavier, a damp, clinging blanket. It is your most constant companion, more so than the pain, which at least comes and goes in waves. The stench is a flat, unwavering line of awfulness. You have become a thing, a piece of decaying organic matter. The person you were a few days ago, the man who worried about debts and argued in taverns and enjoyed the warmth of the sun, is gone. He has been replaced by this source, this generator of stench. And in a moment of terrible, lucid clarity, you understand the final, crushing humiliation of it all. They didn't just sentence you to death. They sentenced you to become garbage. And the worst part is, you hold your breath. In the shimmering, distorted air above the swamp, you see it. A boat. Not the squat, ugly rowboat of your daily tormentors, but a sleeker, faster vessel. There are two people in it. One is rowing with powerful, urgent strokes. The other is standing in the bow, peering intently across the water, searching. His hand is raised to shield his eyes from the sun. He is looking for you. A surge of adrenaline, cold and powerful, cuts through the fog of your fever. It's a rescue. It has to be. The magistrate has reconsidered. The merchant has recounted his accusation. Your friends have pooled their money and paid a bribe. A messenger has arrived from the capital with a royal pardon. A dozen impossible, beautiful scenarios bloom. They are coming to save you. You try to call out. Your throat is a dry, cracked desert. The sound that emerges is not a word, but a rasping, pathetic croak, like a sick crow. It's barely audible above the hum of the flies, but the man in the boat seems to have seen you. He points directly at you. The rower changes course, and the boat turns. Its bow aimed right for your little floating prison. Hope is a more powerful and more dangerous drug than any opiate. It floods your system, momentarily erasing the pain, the stench, the horror. You are going to be lifted out of this filth. You will be given clean water. You will be washed. The images are so clear, so intensely real, that they feel like they are already happening. You can almost feel the cool water on your skin, the clean linen of a fresh tunic. The rescue boat draws closer. You can see the face of the man in the bow now. It's a face you know, a friend from your village. He is smiling, a smile of relief and joy. He is shouting your name. You can't quite make out the words. They are distorted by the buzzing of the insects and the ringing in your ears, but the tone is unmistakable. It's a cry of salvation. This phenomenon, the end-of-life rally or terminal lucidity, is a well-documented, if poorly understood, medical event. People who have been non-responsive or lost in delirium for days will suddenly become clear, coherent, and energetic, just hours or minutes before their death. They will recognize family members, speak clearly, and seem for all the world to be making a miraculous recovery. The biological mechanism is a mystery. Is it a final, massive surge of adrenaline and endorphins? Is the brain, in its final moments, rerouting its last resources to create one final moment of clarity? Scientists and historians who study accounts of death and dying are fascinated by it. It's a ghost in the machine, a final, inexplicable burst of light before the darkness. Your hallucination is a perfect example of this. Your brain, sensing the end is near, has constructed a final, beautiful, and utterly false narrative. It has built you a lifeboat of hope to carry you through the last few moments. The boat is almost upon you now. Your friend is reaching out his hand to you. "We're here." He shouts, his voice clear as a bell. "We've come to take you home." You try to reach back, a feeble, trembling gesture with a hand that is swollen, covered in sores, and crawling with ants. You pour every last ounce of your remaining strength into that one small movement. And then, the boat begins to dissolve. It shimmers like a reflection on water that has been disturbed. The colors fade. The sound of your friend's voice warps and slows, becoming a meaningless, guttural drone. The sleek rescue vessel melts back into the heat haze from which it was born. And you are alone again, staring up at the empty, indifferent sky. The crash is devastating. The hope which had lifted you so high vanishes, and you fall into a despair deeper and blacker than anything you have yet experienced. The pain, the stench, the crawling insects, they all rush back in 100 times worse than before because you had, for a moment, forgotten them. The cruelty of the mirage is almost as perfect as the cruelty of the punishment itself. Your own mind has become your final torturer. You let out a single soundless sob. The tears that well in your eyes are hot and thick, and they carve clean, stinging paths through the grime and honey on your face. A dozen flies immediately descend to drink the salt and moisture. There will be no rescue. There is no hope. There is only this boat, this sun, this storm, and the slow, inevitable process of your own unmaking. The final mirage has faded, leaving behind only the stark, unbearable reality. In the desolate wasteland of your consciousness, a strange and unwelcome flower begins to bloom in clarity. The fever breaks for a moment, the delirium recedes, and you are left with a mind that is horrificously unavailable lucid. The pain is still there, a dull, thrumming bass note beneath everything, but your thoughts, for the first time in what feels like an eternity, are sharp and clear. And with this clarity comes a terrible kind of curiosity. You begin to think about the why, not why me. That question is meaningless, a child's cry in the dark. You know why. You angered a man with more influence than you, in a society with a very low tolerance for public disrespect. No, the question that takes root in your mind is more academic, more detached. Why this? Why this specific, elaborate, and grotesque method? You start to deconstruct it, piece by piece, like a philosopher examining a complex argument. You are an unwilling expert, perhaps the world's foremost authority on the lived experience of Scaphism. And you start to see the terrible, twisted logic of it all. First, the boats. They are not just a coffin. They are a mockery of a human torso. They create a warm, dark, enclosed space, a parody of a womb. But instead of nurturing life, this womb nurtures decay. It is an engine for decomposition, designed to accelerate the process of rot from the inside out. Then, the milk and honey. This is the part that strikes you as particularly brilliant in its cruelty. It's not just poison. It's a perversion of hospitality. In Persian culture, and indeed in most ancient cultures, sharing food and drink is a sacred act of community and friendship. To be offered milk and honey, symbols of paradise and plenty, should be a blessing. But here, it is the instrument of your defilement. It's a ritualistic joke. It's an attack on the foundations of society and decency itself. The exposure of the head and limbs. This isn't random. It's a carefully calculated choice. It ensures you remain exposed to the sun, the heat, the elements. But more importantly, it ensures you are a witness to your own destruction. You are forced to watch the insects gather on your hands. You are forced to feel the sun burn your face. You cannot shut it out. An executioner's sword is swift and, in a way, merciful. You are dead before you can truly comprehend it. This punishment is designed to make you comprehend everything. It forces you into the role of spectator at your own agonizingly slow demise. And the swamp. The choice of venue is masterful. As you now know with intimate certainty, a swamp is not an empty wasteland. It is a teeming, ravenous ecosystem. To place you here is to not just kill you, but to hand you over to be unmade by a billion tiny mouths. It's the ultimate outsourcing of cruelty. The state passes the sentence, but nature carries it out. This gives the act a veneer of being natural, as if you are simply being reclaimed by the primordial world you have offended. This is a point historians often make about the nature of Persian imperial justice. It was often highly symbolic and theatrical. Punishments were not just about eliminating an offender, they were about sending a message, creating a public spectacle that reinforced the cosmic and social order. Your execution is a piece of political theater, and you are the star. The message is clear: to defy the order of the king's law is to be cast out from humanity and dissolved back into chaos. There's a strange, cold comfort in this analysis. It's the comfort of finding a pattern in the pain, a logic in the madness. It doesn't make it better, not in the slightest. But it makes it understandable. You are not a victim of random, mindless brutality. You are the subject of a well-designed, meticulously engineered system of suffering. Someone, somewhere, thought about this. They planned it. The thought is both horrifying and, in a weird way, validating. Your suffering is not meaningless. It is art. A terrible, disgusting masterpiece of pain. You lie in your filth, the sun beating down, the flies buzzing, a strange, cold smile flickering on your cracked lips. You get it. You finally get the joke. And the fact that you can appreciate its intricate, monstrous design is perhaps the final and most profound sign of your own dehumanization. You have moved beyond mere suffering and into the realm of Kenoisishu. How many days has it been? You try to count. You remember the first day, the horror of the sentence, the walk, the first force-feeding. That was one. Then came the first night, the chorus of frogs, and the arrival of the guards in the morning mist. That was the start of day 2. You have a vague, feverish memory of another sunset, another terrifying night, and another visit from the room service from hell. Does that mean this is day 3? Or is it day 4? The sunrises and sunsets, which should be the clearest of clocks, are blurred into a single, continuous loop of misery. The sun rises, the heat builds, the swarm intensifies. The sun sets, the air cools, the night noises begin, the cycle repeats. But the days have lost their distinct character. Was the day with the hallucinated rescue boat yesterday? Or the day before? Did the ants arrive on the same day as the beetles? Your memory is a tattered ruin. Time is no longer a straight line, not a thread. This loss of time is a well-known psychological effect of both solitary confinement and extreme trauma. Our sense of passing time is anchored by meaningful events, by variety, by a clear distinction between one day and the next. Your days have no such anchors. They are identical in their awfulness. The only variable is the slow, steady increase in your own decay. You are not living through time anymore, you are marinating in it. The daily visit from the guards is the only punctuation mark in this endless, run-on sentence of suffering. But even that is becoming less reliable as a marker. Sometimes they seem to come after a long period of light, sometimes after a short one. Is their schedule irregular? Or is your perception of daylight and darkness so warped that you can no longer judge? This question of duration is central to the historical debate around Scaphism. As we mentioned, Putish's claim of a 17-day ordeal for the soldier Mithridates is almost certainly an exaggeration. But if it wasn't 17 days, how long was it? The honest answer is that we don't know. The accounts are third-hand and sensationalized. There are no official Persian records to cross-reference. Was there a standard sentence length? Or was it simply open-ended? Was the sentence to the boats, with the understanding that it would last until you expired, however long that took? This latter possibility is the most terrifying. It means there is no endpoint to look forward to, no date on a calendar, The sentence is not 3 days in the boats. The sentence is the boats. And it ends when you do. You are not serving a sentence, you are living it. And its length is defined by your own body's stubborn, agonizing refusal to quit. You try a different method of counting. You try to tally the number of wasp stings on your right hand. But there are too many, and they have all merged into a single, swollen, flamed mass. You try to count the cycles of gut cramps and release, but they too have lost their rhythm, becoming a constant, low-grade, sickening churn. Here's a peculiar, useless fact for you. The ancient Persians had a highly sophisticated calendar, the Zoroastrian calendar, with 12 months of 30 days each, and 5 extra days at the end of the year. They were meticulous timekeepers, on predictable seasons for planting and for tax collecting. They were masters of ordering and quantifying the world. And yet, they have placed you in a situation that is the absolute antithesis of that. You are in a timeless void. It's another one of their cruel little ironies. They, the masters of time, have sentenced you to lose it completely. You give up trying to count. It doesn't matter. Knowing the number of the day wouldn't change the heat or the pain or the stench. The only time that matters is now, and now is unbearable. The past is a half-forgotten dream. The future is an unthinkable horror. You are trapped in an eternal, agonizing present. The sun begins to set again. Is this the end of day 3? Day 4? You don't care. All you know is that the light is fading, the air is cooling, and soon the things that croak and slither in the dark will begin their nightly chorus. Another cycle is ending. Another is about to begin. Time has become a wheel, and you are strapped to its rim, breaking a little more with every single turn. A profound and strange detachment is setting in. You look at your own hand, the one resting on the edge of the boat. It doesn't look like your hand anymore. It's a swollen, purplish, grotesque thing, covered in sores and crawling with insects. It looks like a piece of spoiled meat you might see in a butcher's shop, left out too long in the sun. You can register on an intellectual level, but you feel no ownership of it. It is an object, a thing. You feel the sharp pinch of an ant on that hand. You observe the sensation of pain. It arrives in your brain as a piece of data, signal from hand object, sharp pain. It's no longer your pain. It's just pain. A free-floating phenomenon that happens to be occurring in the vicinity of your consciousness. This is depersonalization, a psychological defense mechanism where the mind detaches from the self to cope with overwhelming trauma. It's the brain's final emergency exit. When reality becomes too horrific to bear, the mind simply resigns. It steps back and becomes a passive observer, watching the destruction of its own body. As if it were a play, you are no longer the actor on the stage. You are sitting in the back row of the theater, watching the tragedy unfold. The body you are observing is in a state of catastrophic failure. The sores are no longer just on your skin. They are a sign of what's happening beneath. The toxins from infection are flooding your system, a condition we would now call sepsis. Your kidneys, starved of water and overwhelmed with poison, are shutting down. Your organs are pickling in a toxic soup of your own body's creation. You don't know the medical terms, but you can feel it. A profound, systemic wrongness. A feeling of being rotted from the inside out. And the maggots. You can feel them moving. Not just on the surface of your wounds, but deeper. It's a squirming, subtle internal motion. They are no longer just cleaning the dead tissue on the outside. They have begun to explore the inside. This is the detail from the ancient accounts that modern readers find most unbelievable, the part that is most often dismissed as pure propaganda. The Greek writer Plutarch, in his description, states that the vermin puncture and penetrate the entrails. Is this medically plausible? The academic jury is out, and it's a grim debate. It's unlikely that maggots could burrow through healthy abdominal muscle. However, in a body already weakened and ravaged by infection, with tissues beginning to break down and liquefy, it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility that they could find their way into the body cavity through existing wounds or orifices. It is, without question, the single most horrifying element of the entire ordeal. Whether it is literally true or not, in your delirious, detached state, you believe it to be true. You can feel it happening. You are being hollowed out. You are no longer a single, coherent organism. You have become a container. A vessel. A fleshy apartment building for a thriving community of decomposers. You are the landlord. And the tenants are, quite literally, eating you out of house and home. The border between self and other has been completely erased. The insects crawling on you and the worms crawling in you are as much a part of this system as your own failing heart. From your strange, detached vantage point, there's a grotesque beauty to it. It's the circle of life, demonstrated in the most personal and horrifying way imaginable. You are being returned to the ecosystem. Your complex organic matter is being broken down into simpler components, providing sustenance for 1,000 other lives. You are a sacrifice to the great, hungry god of the swarm. You watch as a large, iridescent beetle lands on your arm and begins to methodically clean its antennae. It is calm, purposeful, and completely oblivious to the larger tragedy of your existence. For the beetle, you are not a dying man. You are a convenient source of protein and moisture. A good place to find a meal and maybe lay some eggs. You are a feature of the landscape. And in this moment of profound detachment, you almost agree with it. The man you once were is gone. He has been replaced by this thing, this breathing, decaying landscape, and your only remaining role is to watch it, with a common terrible serenity as it is slowly, inexorably erased from the world. The pain is changing. It has been your constant companion for days, a landscape of sharp peaks and agonizing valleys. The fire of the sunburn, the needle pricks of mosquito bites, the hot agony of wasp stings, the deep, twisting cramps in your gut. But now, those sharp edges are beginning to soften and blur. The individual notes of pain are merging into a single, monotonous chord. It's not that the pain is gone. Far from it. It has simply become so vast, so all-encompassing, that it has transformed into something else. It has become a hum. It's a low, vibrational frequency that buzzes at the very center of your being. It is the background noise of your existence now. Like someone who lives by a waterfall, you have become so accustomed to the roar that you no longer consciously hear it. It is just the sound of the world. The pain is no longer an event that happens to you. It is the medium in which you exist. This phenomenon is a result of total nerve-ending overload. Your nervous system is a messaging service, and it has been screaming emergency signals at full volume for days without a break. Now the circuits are fried. The receptors are burned out. They are still sending signals, but they have lost their specificity. Pain is the only message left, and it is being broadcast on all channels, all the time. The result is a kind of white noise of agony. With this transformation comes a strange and unexpected sense of peace. The struggle is over. The frantic fight against the pain, the desperate attempts to find a moment of relief, have ceased because they are pointless. You have let the great wave of suffering wash over you, and instead of drowning, you have found yourself floating in its depths. You are no longer resisting. You are simply here. In your detached, observational state, you realize that the source of much of your previous torment was not the pain itself, but the fear of the pain. The anticipation of the next cramp. The dread of the next sting. The terror of the ongoing decay. Now that the worst has happened, and is continuing to happen, the fear has nothing left to latch onto. You are living in the reality you were so terrified of, and while it is an agony, it is a known agony. The monster is no longer in the closet. It is sitting on your chest, and you have, in a way, made your peace with it. Historians and philosophers who study accounts of torture and extreme endurance often encounter this state. It's a kind of transcendental exhaustion. When the body and mind are pushed far beyond their limits, they sometimes break through to a place of profound, almost serene emptiness. It's a state beyond hope and despair, beyond fear and courage. It is a state of pure being, stripped of all judgment and desire. This is not a pleasant state, but it is a stable one. It is the quiet eye in the hurricane of your own destruction. You can still feel the crawling of the insects, the squirming within. You are aware of the foul stench, the oppressive heat. But these are just sensory data points now, flowing past your consciousness like leaves on a stream. They no longer have the power to provoke a reaction of horror or disgust. They are simply what is. A water beetle, black and shiny, crawls slowly across your field of vision, moving over your cheek. You watch its jointed legs move with a kind of detached fascination. It is a perfect, intricate little machine. A few days ago, this would have sent you into a frenzy of revulsion. Now, you simply observe its journey. It is a fellow traveler, sharing this strange space with you. This, you realize with a final, quiet clarity, is the end of the struggle. Not the end of your life, not yet, but the end of your fight against your fate. You have been broken, yes, but in the breaking, you have found a strange kind of wholeness. A peace that passeth all understanding, because it is born not of comfort or joy, but of the complete and total acceptance of unimaginable suffering. The pain has become a hum. The light is changing. It's the end of another day. Day 5. 6. It is a number without meaning, but the quality of the light is different now. It has lost its harsh, white, midday glare. It has softened into a palette of gold and orange into deep, bruised purple at the horizon. It's a sunset. And you know with a certainty of the marrow of your bones that it will be your last. You are watching it not through your own eyes, which are swollen, almost shut and clouded with infection, but through a small, clear window in your mind. The serene, detached observer who has taken up residence in the ruin of your consciousness is watching the sky paint itself in its final, glorious colors. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. The pain is still there, the constant, low-frequency hum. The stench is still there, a thick, cloying blanket. The feeling of being consumed from within and without has not ceased. But these things have become the frame. The sunset is the picture, and for the first time in what feels like a lifetime, you are able to focus on the picture instead of the frame. All the petty concerns that once defined your life, the unpaid debt, the social slights, the quest for a little more comfort or a little more pleasure, they all seem impossibly distant and trivial now. They are like the concerns of a different species. Your world has been reduced to the most elemental of things, the slow beat of your own failing heart, the shallow rasp of your breath, and the magnificent, silent spectacle of the sun dipping below the edge of the world. There's a concept in some schools of philosophy and art, particularly in Japanese aesthetics, known as mono no aware. It's a difficult phrase to translate directly, but it refers to a gentle, transient sadness at the passing of things. It's an awareness of the impermanence of life, and the beauty that can be found in that very impermanence. A cherry blossom is beautiful not just for its color and form, but because you know it will be gone in a week. You are experiencing the ultimate mono-aware. You are witnessing the beauty of the world, heightened and made unbearably poignant by the certain knowledge that you are about to leave it. The academic debate here is a quiet one. When ancient writers describe the last moments of a hero or a martyr, they often depict them as serene, accepting, even joyful. Is this historical reality, or is it a literary convention? A way of giving a good death to a character the author admires? Are they projecting a noble end onto what was likely a messy, agonizing, and undignified process? It's impossible to know for sure. But in this moment, for you, the literary convention feels true. The colors deepen. The orange fades to a fiery red, bleeding into the deep purple of the twilight sky. A single, bright star appears, a tiny diamond pricked in the growing darkness. The air cools on your face. The daytime buzzing of the flies subsides, a gradual silencing of one orchestra as the other, the nightly chorus of frogs and crickets, begins to tune up. You are not afraid. The fear was burned out of you days ago. You are not sad. The capacity for sadness has been exhausted. You are not angry. You are simply watching. Bearing witness. You are a consciousness on the verge of winking out, and you are spending your last moments of awareness appreciating the view. A final, absurd thought floats through your mind. The merchant who accused you, the magistrate who sentenced you, the guards who feed you, they are all probably sitting down to their evening meal right now. They are in their homes with their families, living their ordinary lives. They have likely forgotten all about you. You are a piece of administrative paperwork that has been filed away. A messy job, now complete. They will never see a sunset as beautiful as this one. They are too busy living to notice it. You, who have lost everything, are the only one privileged enough to truly see it. It is the last and most profound irony of your short, ruined life. The sun slips below the horizon, the last sliver of red light vanishes, and the world goes dark. In the deep twilight, as the last colors fade from the sky and the swamp settles into its nocturnal rhythm, a visitor arrives. It is not one of the gods. It is not a hallucination born of fever. He is real. A large water bird, a heron perhaps with long spindly legs and a neck like a graceful, curved serpent, lands silently on the far end of your boat. The boat rocks gently with the added weight. The bird stands perfectly still for a long moment, a dark, elegant silhouette against the deep indigo of the sky. Its head is cocked, and you can just make out the glint of a small black, intelligent eye fixing you with a calm, unblinking stare. It is not afraid of you. Why would it be? You are no threat. You are part of the landscape now. The bird takes a slow, deliberate step, its long toes making a soft, scratching sound on the wood. Then another. It is walking towards you, moving with a fluid, patient grace. It is not a creature of malice like the wasps, nor a creature of frantic, mindless hunger like the flies. It seems ancient, wise, and utterly indifferent. This moment, the arrival of a final, non-human witness, is a powerful trope in stories from all over the world. A lone wolf howling on a hill after a battle. An eagle circling over a fallen hero. It speaks to a deep human need to have our passing acknowledged, even if only by nature itself. It's as if the world is sending a final delegate to observe the closing ceremonies. The heron stops just a foot or two from your head. It stands over you, a silent, feathered sentinel. It can surely smell the decay. It can see the swarm of night insects, the mosquitoes and gnats that now cloud around your face, but it shows no sign of disgust or fear. It simply is a piece of the swamp, observing another piece of the swamp in its final transformation. Here, a small, niche debate among ornithologist and historians might occur. What was the exact fauna of these ancient Mesopotamian marshes? The Greeks used the general term ornis for bird. Was it a grey heron, which is still common in the region? A Goliath heron? Or perhaps a species that has long since gone extinct? The truth is lost to time, a ghost bird in a ghost story. But the archetype remains, the silent watcher. The bird dips its head. Its long, sharp beak darts down with startling speed, not at you but at the water next to the boat, snatching an unlucky frog or a small fish from the murky depths. It swallows its catch with a single, elegant gulp. And your slow decay, which has attracted a concentration of frogs and insects to this very spot, has made this a particularly rich hunting ground. In a way, you are providing for it. It is your final, unwilling act of charity. You watch the heron through the slits of your swollen eyes. You have become so detached that you feel a strange kinship with it. Both of you are part of this ecosystem. The bird is at the top of its food chain, a master of its environment. You are at the very bottom, a resource being consumed by all. You are opposite ends of the same cycle. The heron stands there for a long time, a statue of patient stillness. It is waiting. Perhaps it is waiting for another meal to present itself, or perhaps it is waiting for something else. The night deepens, the stars come out, a brilliant, cold scatter of diamonds across the black velvet sky. The chorus of the swamp reaches its crescendo, and the bird does not move. It is you on a guard, your silent, impartial witness. It will be there, you know, until the very end. It is the last thing you will see, a final, graceful shape in the encroaching darkness. And its presence is, in the strangest of ways, a comfort. You are not dying alone. You are dying under the calm, watchful eye of the world itself. Centuries will pass. The Persian Empire, which seemed so eternal, so impossibly vast and powerful, will be conquered by a young man from Macedonia. His empire in turn will fracture and fall. Rome will rise and it will crumble. Dynasties will come and go like seasons. The swamp where you lie dissolving will shrink, The river will change its course, and the very memory of your small town will be buried under layers of dust in time. Your personal, agonizing, world-ending tragedy will become less than a footnote. It will be completely forgotten. But the story of your punishment will survive. It will be picked up by a Greek writer, a biographer and moralist named Plutarch, living comfortably in the Roman Empire, hundreds of years after you drew your last ragged breath. He will be writing a biography of the Persian king Artaxerxes II. He is looking for stories that are dramatic, memorable, and that illustrate the character of the king and the barbaric nature of his Persian enemies. Someone, a traveler or a reader of older, now lost texts, will tell him the story of the soldier Mithridates, the one who was executed in the boats. Plutarch, a master storyteller, will recognize a good, gruesome tale when he hears one. He will write it down, embellishing it with vivid, horrifying details. He will write about the force-feeding of milk and honey, the festering filth, the insects that not only swarm upon the surface, but get inside and devour the entrails. He doesn't know you. He has no idea who you were. He is not writing history to preserve the memory of the dead. He is using your story as a piece of political rhetoric, a colorful and shocking anecdote to entertain his Roman audience and paint his subjects' enemies in the worst possible light. Your unimaginable suffering will be transformed into a paragraph in a book, a piece of literary spice. And so begins the great academic debate that will echo down through the ages. For the next 2,000 years, historians will read Plutarch's account and argue about it. In the Renaissance, scholars will rediscover the classical texts and cite your death as proof of the depravity of ancient tyrants. In the Enlightenment, philosophers will use it as an example of cruel and unusual punishment, an argument for more humane legal systems. Victorian academics, with their fascination for the grim and grotesque, will write about it with a kind of horrified glee. They will argue about the details. Was it really milk and honey, or was that a symbolic flourish? Could a person really survive for 17 days? Did the insects really burrow into the body? They will dissect your death, analyze it, critique the sources. You will become a historical curiosity, a case study in ancient cruelty. Your name will be lost. Your crime will be forgotten. All that will remain is the method of your demise. You will be known to history only as the man in the boat. This is the final, strange afterlife of your story. It ceases to be about you, a person of flesh and blood who lived and suffered, and it becomes about the text. It becomes evidence in a long-running argument between long-dead Greeks and even longer-dead Persians. It becomes a data point in debates about the reliability of ancient sources. Your agony is sublimated into a footnote in a scholarly journal. The irony is that the more they analyze it, the less real it becomes. The more it seems like a myth, a piece of exaggerated propaganda. Some future historians will even dismiss it entirely, claiming it was a pure invention of Greek writers, a bogeyman story with no basis in fact. They will argue that the logistical challenges and the sheer biological horror of it make it implausible. They will, in their clean, well-lit libraries, decide that the thing you are experiencing right now probably never happened. You will suffer one final indignity to have your own excruciating death erased by the stroke of a scholar's pen, deemed too horrible to be true. Your story, as a conscious experience, has ended. The detached observer in your mind has finally closed its eyes. The hum of pain has faded into the great silence. The heron, your final, feathered witness, has long since flown away. But the physical object that is your body, encased in its wooden shell, remains. And it has one final role to play in the bureaucratic machinery of Persian justice. The sentence must be officially seen to be complete. A few days later, or perhaps a week, no one is in a hurry. A small, reluctant delegation is dispatched from the town. It consists of a minor official, someone even lower on the totem pole than the magistrate who sentenced you, and a couple of hired laborers. Their job is simple and deeply unpleasant: retrieve the boat and confirm the death. They pull their way out onto the swamp in a flat-bottomed barge, their faces wrapped in cloth to ward off the stench, which now hangs over this part of the water like a foul, invisible cloud. They follow the smell. It is their only guide. The official carries a clay tablet and a stylus, ready to make his report. This is a matter of paperwork, an administrative loose end to be tied up. They find you easily. Your little boat is grounded in a thick patch of reeds, tilting slightly to one side. The cloud of flies that still hovers over it is a clear landmark. As they get closer, the laborers begin to gag, their cloth masks offering little protection against the overwhelming, ripe odor of advanced decay. The official mutters at them to be quiet and do their job. Their task is not to retrieve your body for burial. That is out of the question. Your corpse is considered unclean, defiled, unfit to be placed in the sacred earth. Their job is simply to verify the kill and perhaps to dispose of the equipment. One of the laborers, the braver or perhaps just the one with a weaker sense of smell, uses a long pole to nudge your boat, pushing it free from the reeds. It floats sluggishly, heavy in the water. He then begins to work at the ropes or clamps that hold the two hubs together. They are stiff, crusted with dried filth and sticky residue. He has to pry at them with the end of his pole. Finally, with a sickening, sucking sound, the seal is broken. He and his companion take hold of the top boat and lift it away, and they see what is left of you. The sight is so horrific that even these hardened men, no strangers to death and squalor, recoil in shock. The official, who had been trying to maintain an air of bored authority, takes one look and promptly vomits over the side of his barge. This is the point where the historical accounts, like Purtis's, tend to fall into a kind of horrified, almost poetic silence. They simply state that the victim was found to be a hollowed-out shell, their flesh consumed, their insides a swarming nest of vermin. The reality is likely far messier and more grotesque than any description could capture. You are no longer recognizable as a human being. You are a collapsed ruin, a teeming ecosystem of death, a testament to the relentless, efficient power of nature when given such a perfect opportunity. The official, after composing himself, makes a small, shaky mark on his clay tablet. Sentence carried out. Subject deceased. He has fulfilled his duty. He has confirmed the death. The legal process is now complete. The state has its closure. What happens next is a matter of some speculation, as no source details the cleanup. The laborers, eager to be done with this ghastly business, would have likely towed your boat to a deeper part of the swamp. There, they would have untied what was left of your limbs and simply tipped the boat over, letting its contents sink into the murky, brown water to be dealt with by the fish and turtles. The two halves of the boat, now thoroughly befouled, would probably be abandoned, left to rot and sink into the mud themselves. No one would ever want to use them again. The men pole their way back to shore, silent and shaken. They will be paid a few coins for their grim work. The official will file his report with the magistrate, and that will be that. The case is closed. The world moves on. The only lingering trace of your existence is a small, cuneiform mark on a piece of dried clay, filed away in a dusty archive, and a lingering, foul smell on a forgotten stretch of water. Your name, which you yourself had forgotten by the end, is now a ghost on the wind. But your story, or rather, a warped and simplified version of it, begins a new life. It detaches from the specific facts of your case and becomes something else, a legend, a cautionary tale, a story to scare children. It starts in your own town. The children who saw you being led away, the ones who stared with wide, fearful eyes, will never forget the sight. Their mothers will use your memory as a tool for discipline. Be good, they will whisper at bedtime, or the men will come and put you in the boats, and the flies will eat you. In their nightmares, you will float on a dark river, a monster made of honey and buzzing insects. You have been transformed from a man into a bogeyman. The men who drank with you in the tavern will tell your story to newcomers. Their voices low and dramatic. They will embellish the details, as people do. In their telling, the swarm of insects will be the size of a house. The force feeding will have been done with a golden funnel by the king's personal guard. Your crime will grow from a drunken insult into a grand conspiracy against the throne. The story becomes more entertaining, more thrilling with each retelling. It is no longer about your suffering. It is about their skill as storytellers. Travelers passing through your town will hear the tale and take it with them to the next city and the next. Like a virus, the story will mutate as it spreads. In one version, you are a heretic who cursed the gods. In another, a powerful sorcerer whose magic finally failed him. The core elements, the honey, the insects, remain because they are so vivid and so horrifying. But the context, the humanity, is stripped away. You have become a myth. This process of mythologizing real, traumatic events is a fundamental part of human culture. We do it to make sense of the senseless, to impose a moral order on chaotic violence. Your death was a messy, administrative act of provincial justice, but the story turns it into a grand drama of crime and cosmic retribution. It becomes a lesson. This is what happens when you step out of line. This is the fate of those who challenge the order of things. The academic term for this is folklorization. It's how history is processed and digested by the collective consciousness. It's rarely concerned with facts. It's concerned with meaning. And the meaning of your story, as it's told and retold, is simple obedience. The tale of the man in the boats becomes a two lines in the background, reinforcing the power structures of the empire. It is more effective than 100 guards. A legion of soldiers can enforce the king's law, but a truly terrifying bedtime story can enforce the king's peace. And what about the punishment itself? It's highly unlikely it was ever a common practice. It was too elaborate, too resource-intensive, too weird. It was what historians call exemplary punishment, one designed not for everyday use, but for special occasions, to make a particularly strong impression. Its power lay not in its frequency, but in its infamy. The fact that it could happen, that the state had both the capacity and the imagination for such cruelty, was enough to keep most people in line. Your unique and agonizing death serves as a warning to millions. So you live on in a way. A distorted echo of you survives in the fears of children, in the boasts of tavern storytellers, in the whispers of travelers. You have achieved a kind of immortality, not the glorious immortality of a hero whose deeds are sung by poets, but the dark, cautionary immortality of a monster in a fairy tale. It is a strange and bitter legacy. You died in agony to become a tool to frighten people into being good, and your story will continue to be told long after the empire that killed you has turned to dust. You are now a whisper, a ghost of a memory. Your suffering has ended, and what remains is your legacy, not as a man, but as an idea. The idea of a punishment so uniquely dreadful that it begs the final question: why don't we do this anymore? Why did Scaphism, and all its elaborate, theatrical cruelty, fade into history? The answer is likely less about morality and more about practicality. For all its terrifying ingenuity, let's be honest, it's a logistical nightmare. It is, when you really think about it, a stunningly inefficient way to execute someone. It uses up resources. Milk and honey weren't free. It ties up at least 2 guards for a task that takes days, a task they clearly find disgusting and unpleasant. A simple sword, a rope, or a heavy stone are infinitely more efficient. They are quick, cheap, and get the job done with a minimum of fuss. Your prolonged, agonizing death was, from a purely administrative standpoint, a bureaucratic mess. Then there is the changing nature of power. Spectacular public punishments like yours are a tool of a certain kind of state, one that needs to rule through shock, awe, and visceral terror. It's a way of making the abstract power of the king brutally, unforgettably real. But as empires evolve, their methods of control often become more subtle, more pervasive, and less theatrical. Power becomes baked into the law, the economy, the very structure of society. It no longer needs to put on such a gruesome play to prove its point. A swift, quiet execution behind a prison wall sends a different, but equally effective, message: the state is an unfeeling machine, and if you cross it, you will simply disappear. It's a colder, more modern form of terror. And did the world simply develop a conscience? Did later generations look back at practices like the boats and recoil in genuine moral horror? Perhaps. We can hope so. But it's also possible that taste just changed. The public's appetite for such gruesome spectacles waned. The logic of justice shifted. The argument that a punishment should, in some way, fit the crime, however twisted lie, fell out of favor, replaced by a blunter, more standardized system. This is the final, quiet debate for the historians. Did these punishments vanish because of a genuine moral awakening, or for purely pragmatic reasons? Was it the triumph of human empathy, or the triumph of bureaucratic efficiency? The truth, as always, is likely a messy combination of both. You are the high water mark of a certain kind of creative cruelty. You are a testament to a form of punishment so extreme, so baroque in its horror that it ultimately collapsed under its own weight. It was too much, too messy, too slow, too strange. You are the proof of concept for a terrible idea that was ultimately deemed a failure, and so you can finally rest. The story of the boat ends with you, a forgotten ghost of a forgotten cruelty floating in the quiet waters of the past. A warning that became a myth, and then, finally, nothing at all. And so the story dissolves. The images of the sun and the swamp, of the honey and the flies, begin to soften and fade, like a watercolor painting left out in a gentle rain. Let them drift away now. There is no need to hold on to them. The tale is told. But the feeling of floating can remain if you wish. Imagine that the boat is no longer a prison, but your own bed, rising and falling with the slow, gentle rhythm of your own breathing. The water is no longer a dark and stagnant swamp, but a clear, peaceful river, carrying you softly through the quiet darkness. The current is gentle, and it is pulling you effortlessly toward the deep and silent waters of sleep. There is nothing left to see now but the pleasant darkness behind your eyelids. There is nothing left to hear but the sound of my voice as it grows softer, and the even quieter sound of your own calm breath. You can feel the weight of the blanket over you, a comforting anchor in this peaceful drifting current. You are safe, you are warm, and you are at ease. Let the last embers of the tale glow softly, and then fade to grey, leaving only the deep, comfortable quiet of your room, effortlessly toward the shores of a deep and restorative sleep. We've reached the end of this gentle river. If you wish to float on another, they are all flowing peacefully on my channel. Sweet dreams. Good night.